going on, guys? Welcome to episode 13 of Hooked on Lakers. This is Arshia K. We're here to talk Lakers basketball. I'm recording live from Zilker Park in Austin, Texas. This park is a little bit like Central Park in New York or Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. It's a big park that's adjacent to downtown Austin. But before I get into the show, I want to quickly give you guys a little tour of the scenery here. This is a place that I go to every week to just relax and then be around nature. So let me give you a quick tour. Right over there, you can't see the water, but down below is where the Colorado River is. So we're surrounded by rivers. And then right over there behind me, behind where I'm sitting, is where downtown Austin is. Now, there's some trees obstructing the view, so you're not going to be able to see the skyscrapers, but behind those trees is where downtown Austin is. All right, so the episode of this week is the tank is half full, and that has to do with the Lakers, at the end of the season, shifting their focus from, trying to be competitive and trying to make it into the playoffs to development, putting development first, and then also trying to tank in order to improve our chances of getting a top 3 draft pick. Now, it's kind of an oxymoron to kind of do both, to develop and tank, because when I think of development, I'm thinking of giving the players the opportunity to compete and try to win games, to learn how to win games on your own. But tanking, it's the opposite. Your goal is to try to purposely lose so that you drop down in ranks, which in turn will increase your chances of getting more ping pong balls to get a high draft pick. As a reminder, Lakers have a top 3 protected pick this year. If it falls outside of the top 3 pick, we lose the pick to Philly, and then we will also lose our 2019 first-round draft pick as well. So that's kind of where we're at. But to kind of give you a quick overview of this season of what happened, it started off with, we had a lot of changes from top down. It started with we had a change in head coach. We got Luke Walton, which was a great thing. It means we're planning for the future by getting a new up-and-coming coach who's going to grow and develop with the team. We also had changes to the upper management. We ousted VP of basketball operations and our GM, and then we got Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka in to take over. I thought that was a cool move because it just seems like this position was meant for Magic Johnson. He's kind of done everything he wanted in his basketball career, and then went out in the professional world and did some great things there, was successful there as well. And it just seems like the last thing he needs to do in his career is to come back and lead the Lakers, these new Lakers, back to championships. So I thought it was a perfect fit the minute I heard about the change. And I already mentioned in previous episodes, Rob Pelinka, I grew up watching him when he was a Fab 5 member, and he's another up-and-coming GM, kind of like he's another up-and-coming young basketball mind, kind of like Bob Myers in Golden State, who went to law school, became a successful agent, and then now is in upper management. So I think that'll be a really interesting mix between Magic and Pelinka, and I'm hopeful that things will work out there. And then we also had changes in ownership, where there was changes in the Buss family on who had ownership of the team, with Jeannie Buss ultimately taking over as the top dog, and I think that's a great thing. And then lastly, there was changes on the basketball team as well, from players being traded away, and then us picking up players through trades and through the D League. So that's good. So it's basically showing that the Lakers are making the necessary changes to go a different path from the way that went the last few years, which were very unsuccessful seasons for us. And the only way you can improve from that is trying something different, and that's what I like about the Lakers. To give you an overview of how things ended for the Lakers stats-wise, they ended with a record of 26-56. I had predicted 25 wins. They surpassed that by one. And I think, based on the framework of this team, that's a pretty successful, figure. I thought 26 wins with a young team with a bunch of 19, 20, 21, I think 24-year-old is Jordan Clarkson. That's pretty good. They don't really have a superstar. They had all these changes going on. So with all these changes and all this youth, 26 wins, that's impressive, considering that they had 17 wins the year before. So anytime you have a win of increase of about 7-8 wins, the Lakers did 9, that's very successful. That means something drastic had to have changed in order for you to improve that much from 1 year. Normally a superstar can carry a team by themselves and get you about 8 to 10 wins, and the Lakers don't have a superstar, and they improved by 9 wins. That's impressive. And just to go a little bit deeper, to give you some more stats, out of the 26 of 56, to break it down into quarters for the 82-game season, they won the first 20 games. They won 10 games. Then they won the next quarter. They won 5. They went down and won 5 games. The quarter after that, they won 4. So they kind of bottomed down the quarters 2 and 3. And then the fourth quarter, after the All-Star break, after changes to upper management, after trades, and giving the young players the free reins to lead the team, they ended up pulling out 7 wins, which was the second most wins of the season. And they ended up ending the season strong by winning 5 out of 6 games, which is very impressive. So you kind of want to analyze the entire season and see how things went. They came out strong, then they kind of bottomed out in the middle 2 quarters, and then the end of the season they ended up strong because they kind of put everything together and developed. So it shows that they improved in this one season. And to win 7 games, without a star, with young players leading the team, that to me says that this team is on the up and up, because the way you end the season is the way you're going to start the season the following season. So I couldn't be more happy. 26 wins, starting off with 10 wins, and then ending the season with 7. That's very impressive for me. And as a fan, I couldn't be more happy. To go into the analysis of the season, just my thoughts on, how things went. As mentioned before, when you improve your win totals by 9, that means that this is a healthy team that's growing. And for us Laker fans who have high expectations, that's exactly what we want. We probably couldn't ask for more, given how young these guys are. So improving by 9 is fantastic. In addition to that, player development occurred throughout the season, and that's evident by the win totals and the improvement in the fourth quarter of this last season. Everyone got an opportunity to play. They tried different lineups. Players improved their productivity. When you're comparing their stats from this last season to the previous season, they improved there. We saw plays. It's hard for them to be consistent 82 games this season. It's hard for them to be consistent 48 minutes in a row. Young players are going to be inconsistent, but there was a lot of times where we saw some good plays that happened that shows you that that kind of gives you insight of what they're going to be like in the future. Brandon Ingram was very inconsistent in the first half of the season, but the second half of the season we started seeing some tremendous plays that really showed us what this kid's potential is going to be. Same with D'Angelo Russell. He got challenged a couple times and came back the next game and put up something like 40 points. He had an impressive streak of like 5, 6, 7, 8 games where he was putting up some really impressive stats. And same with Jordan Clarkson when he was put in the starting lineup. So every player, including Zubac, even Nuwaba, they all had the opportunity to go out on the court, figure things out, and improve, which is going to give us, lots of optimism for the upcoming seasons. And then lastly, when you have a development season, you just want to see these players just play a full 82-game season and get them to play as much as possible, and play as injury-free as possible. And although we had some injuries, I don't know if it was the second or third quarter, we didn't really have any significant injuries that were a player basically lost this season and is going to be affected this season. Whoever that was injured, I remember D'Angelo Russell, Randall was injured a little bit, they all still came back and ended the season strong. So in that regard, you know, it ended up being a very successful season because they improved, they developed, and we didn't have any successful injuries, which is going to lead into the following season. And the very last thing I wanted to talk about is expectation. So, you know, we went over the overview. I analyzed this last season real quickly. And then what are the expectations for next season or this off season? I like where we're at. I think we have a healthy balance of players starting from 1 through 5 and then the bench. Obviously, there's room for improvement. We still need a star. Everybody knows that. But we've done a great job of drafting players this last 3 years, you know, and there's no too much overlap like there was on Philly, you know, where they had something like 3 centers that were all like starting caliber centers. You know, that's going to inhibit their growth. It's like you're growing a garden and putting too many of the same plants all right next to each other, or packing them in to the point where they're not getting enough oxygen, not enough water, nutrients, and air. You know, that's not the problem with the Lakers. They drafted very strategically and intelligently, where they got all the positions that they needed, and then they said, let's just go from there. So we got, you know, the 1 through 5 positions for the most part. We still need either a shooting guard, small forward, and then we got a nice bench player in Jordan Clarkson. So, you know, given that, with all the pieces there, and they're all still improving, and they're all look like they fit well, we just need to exhibit patience. We don't need to, you know, panic and make a trade that's going to affect us in the long run, you know, because these kids are all going to continue getting better. They've already shown that they've gotten better by the record this year of 26 wins. You know, when all is said and done, it all comes down to records and championships. And for them to improve by 9 wins, that means these kids, this team has a good chemistry, and they're going to continue getting better. So the number one thing is, they need to demonstrate patience. And the second thing is continue focusing on the culture over everything else. You know, you can just try to go and land one big shot, but he might not be a good fit personality-wise. He might be a character flaw. I think they need to continue just working on a culture, kind of like San Antonio, where, you know, once the culture's in place, then all the pieces can be changed because the foundation is in place. And I kind of want that to be the Lakers over just having one superstar and everything built around that. I think you need to build around the entire culture, which includes the upper management, it includes the ownership, it includes the coaches, the players, and then the basketball staff. And that's kind of the route that they're going right now, and that's the route that I want them to stick with. So focus on being patient until you find the right opportunity, and then focus on culture. And then when you do that, players will naturally come, or they'll find a piece later that ends up being a good match. So this is my insight for this 2016-17 season. I feel that it was a very successful season. As a fan, I couldn't be happier. I love competitive seasons, but I also love development seasons as well, because you get to watch players grow. In every single game, you see something new. And I was very fulfilled in that regard this year, watching all the different players, you know, develop in their own ways. Thank you for tuning in to episode 13 of Hooked on Lakers. My name is Arshia K, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. Peace.